Hey guys, this is Eric Weingartner with Weingartner Racing. Today's video is a product review video and it's about my set of CNC Dragon Slayer heads. These are my port design. They're sold exclusively from me. No one else has these. These are mine. And I've been dying to share these with you. And if you've seen some of my Friday or Saturday update videos, I've showed you a little bit of it. But now I'm going to show you even more because there's a lot of options that are available and some cool stuff. This might sound like a sales pitch, but you'll get the idea. The Dragon Slayer itself is a standard valve spacing cylinder head. Although I do have one that's being developed currently, it's getting digitized as we speak, that's a 40-60 spacing. But this is a standard spacing head. It's a low port, which I'll show you in a second. So it's a regular 23-degree small block Chevy cylinder head, really common, and it's a really nice head. When I designed this port, I wanted something that would work with a majority of my customers. And in all fairness, the majority of my customers have a 400 and up cubic inch engine. And also I know that they are limited on their budget. So when I first designed this head, I wanted a head that did not require shaft rockers. And that ended up being a bit of a bigger deal. And I'll try to explain why. And you just bear with me as I do it. When I had first done the port, so I took a regular head just like this one, because this is a regular Dragon Slayer that you would get from Brodix or from me, because I'm an authorized Brodix dealer. And I had ported one of the runners, and that became my model. And I made it as good as I could. Probably the best work I've ever done, and sent it off to get digitized. Whenever they digitize, what they'll do is they'll mirror it, put the other one here. And right away, you can see a problem. This is the stock slot from Brodix on the pushrod slots. What I need to tell you is they're not centered. So picture right here is your divider. If you notice, there's different areas on each side. So whenever that flipped over, it broke through on the pushrod slot on the other side. Not a good thing. Not exactly what I wanted to have happen. So it took some time in the CNC program where they actually moved my pushrod slot inwards. So yes, that did decrease the minimum CSA, but it got it to where the slots from the stock would work. Because the whole idea for this head was, I want a standard valve spacing head so a person doesn't have to buy a 40-60 spacing piston. Although again, I'm gonna have that head available too. I wanted them not to have to buy shaft rockers, because I think that's one of the things that's really holding up a lot of performance in the cylinder head market is because of shaft rockers. Because when I had first started selling these heads, you could at that time, so it takes 6 years ago, let's say pre-COVID, because really it's about pre-COVID, you could get a set of Jessel Sportsman shaft rockers for about $1,000. And if you wanted T&Ds, so you could get the greater offset, those were about $1,500 or $1,550. And you could get Jessel Pros for about $1,650. Now, flash forward to today. Currently, a set of Jessel Sportsman shaft rockers are going to run you about $1,650. And that limits your offset that you can have on the rocker to about $300. Well, a little bit more expensive when you do $300. But that's all that you can get. And a T&D setup right now, $2,500. Jessel Pro, about the same cost. So at this point, the shaft rocker setup, the good ones, are now more expensive almost than a bare casting. Well, for sure, the Jessel Sportsman series are more expensive than the bare castings alone. The Pro series, again, they're more expensive. So at this point, I know all of us are, economy might be up, but you sure ain't feeling it in your pocket. I know that affects every single one of us. We may make more money, but everything's costing so much more. So one of the things that's so hard is because now I got this nice set of cylinder heads. I got to drop another $2,000 or $2,100 for the shaft rockers. Let's face it, most people just don't have the budget. So the idea when I made this was stick with stud mounts, save some people some money, do the best with what we can. Is it ideal? No. But save the people some money so they can race. This head is not cheap because my labor that goes into this and the cost to send it off to the CNC guy to have my program put in it, all of it adds up. So I'm not even going to pretend that this head is cheap. Not at all. I'm not going to give you the price because someone could watch this 3 years down the road and it might be a different price. It's best to email me to ask me that. Don't call me to ask me because usually, no offense to the people that call, but about 80% are tire kickers. For instance, I'll give you a prime example. On my website, wengines.com, I have a set of all pro race runner heads. And I say on there, it's got a whole list of things and it doesn't have the price. It says, this is, if you have to call to ask how much this is, you can't afford it. That's one of them. It's too much more. It's so much more that you probably get a divorce. The divorce is cheaper. Meth might be cheaper. These are all in the description of the head. But anyway, I still get people calling at least once a week asking me how much they cost. And I know 100% when they ask me that, they can't afford it. They're not serious. They can't afford it. So don't call me to ask how much this is. Email me. I'll be happy to tell you. I'm probably going to put this on my website soon anyway. I've got several versions, but I don't have this one on there. So be patient on that to get on there. But email me. They're not cheap. Just letting you know. Now, in this particular case, this guy, he'd actually sent in a set of stock Dragon Slayers that I sold him. So a few years ago, this particular customer, I sold him a set of 68cc Dragon Slayers, and he'd ran them absolutely stock. He then sent them in for me to put the program into it. So now the program is going into it. I'm going to tell you, if you've got a set of stock Dragon Slayers that are 68cc chambers, if you ordered the ones with 64 cc's, I can't help you. Or any size other than the 68 cc's, I can't help you. But if you got the 68 cc's and they're stock from Brodix, you can send them in and I can have the program put into it. It'll save you about $1,000 versus buying a new set from me. And I'm going to go through all the specs for this so you can kind of get an idea what's all going on with it. But I wanted to be up front with that. So anyway, enough of me gabbing. Let's just go to it. These chambers are available in a few different sizes. The standard is 70 cc's. I can make it bigger by about 1 if I sink the valve job in and blend it in. So standard valve chamber is 70 cc's, which is like, wow, that's really big. It can be milled down. For instance, this particular set's milled down to 68 cc's, and I'm about to show you the flow numbers for that. I can go as low on flat milling as about 65 cc's. It will affect flow numbers. I don't know how much because I haven't done it yet. So there's the chamber size. Valve sizes are 2.125 intake valve and a 1.575 exhaust valve. So had to do the smaller exhaust valve because the bigger intake valve. I'd rather have it that way. Now, there are options to go with it. For instance, you can't hardly tell from this picture, but this particular customer, he said, you know what? Can you do a smaller stem on the intake valve? Absolutely. So this one's actually an 8mm stem on the intake, still 11/32. I try to never put a smaller stem on the exhaust side. You might say, why? Because the exhaust is opening into pressure, so I need a thicker stem. It makes things more sturdy. If you're worried about exhaust flow, you're going to see it really won't matter. Intake flow, that's a different story. That's the heavier valve. We can reduce the stem. One, it flows a little bit more, but it does reduce weight, so that's a great thing. You might say, why didn't you do 5/16? Well, the difference between a 5/16 valve, which measures typically 0.312, an 8mm valve is 0.314. That's 0.002 difference, so it's not that much. But the biggest reason for not doing the 5/16, I can't get the intake valves right now. I can get the 8mm stuff. I cannot get the 5/16. So anyway, 2125, 1575. The intake runner volume, this is total runner volume, 253 cc's. That's right. Stud mount rocker, 253 cc's. This is a big boy. This ain't no small little children. It's big. So let's go ahead and show you what I mean by big. I can tell you this is he'd already ran this head. That's why it doesn't look perfectly clean. But this runner is a 1207. So it's 1207 tall and 1206 wide. No sense in making it wider because you still have to go around the push rod slot. And as you could tell, you could see where and the lighting's not very good, you can see where we had to move the program to go around that slot. There you go. Yeah, had to do it. I don't know other way around it. So the minimum cross section, in case you're wondering, measures 2.69 on this one. So 2.69. So it's got some area there. It's not super small, but I mean, without a shaft mount rocker, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Now I will say, if you decided to order the Jessel Sportsman series setup, then I can do a bigger one. So because the Jessel Sportsman, if you order them with the -0. That means you get a 300 offset instead of the 250. At that point, you can run a 3/8 push rod, which is better, and it moves my push rod slot, and my push rod slot now looks different, which the light's not on, and I'm not going to get it because I'm lazy. But the push rod slot looks more normal, doesn't have the bulge because I'm not trying to go around a push rod. This one makes the push rod slot grow to 2.73. So you gain a little bit more area there having that. Then if you're like, well, I want to buy the better shaft rockers, the T&D with the 550 offset, then I can go all the way up to 2.85 minimum cross-sectional area. And that will help you RPM higher, obviously. But in all fairness, the very first ones that came off, so I've had one that's been on the dyno, has already made 717 on a 421 with a 650 lift. set up for nitrous. So yeah, these things are pretty good. Anyway, that's them. The exhaust runner, I forgot what the CCs are, but off the top of my head, they're 86 or something. And as you could tell, again, he used this head and we just put the program into it. It's a D-port exhaust. It is raised. This is the same height that it is from Brodix. I didn't raise it more. But it's a D-port exhaust. I want to say it's 86 cc's. But if you look at his head here, you'll see this. See this? It's because he ran adapter plates. One of the options that is available for this head is I can do that. This is if you have a standard one, you send it in, it's going to cost you $300 more to add that. But if you are ordering a brand new head from me, then it's only like $225 to add the stall pattern. So this just makes it easier, so you ain't got to run an adapter, let's face it. There are other things that are available too. If you want the chamber softened, can do that. We can do that, adds another $550 on. But there's about a bazillion different things. But anyway, let's just get to the flow numbers I'll show you. This is from this one, so this isn't even, that one actually flows a little bit better because of the pinch being a little bit bigger, but this is this one. 4155 bore, this is flowed on the signs bench. Here we go. At 400, it goes 256, which is pretty good. Now this with the 8mm valve, I need to tell you this one too. At 600, it's 319. It goes 337 at 8, and you notice it kind of backs up here and goes 334 at 1, so it starts climbing back up. You're like, oh, it peters off. That's not what it should do. You're right, the model actually climbed the whole way, and that one does. Something about some of the tweaks we had to make with the pinch on this particular one, it affected the flow from what the model did. So at some points it's better. Like for instance, that number 8 is actually better, but the number 1 is it's also better too. But before it was like, I want to say we went 331, 332, 33, 34. So it matched it there, but it didn't have this weird spike that we have here. But anyway, it's pretty good numbers. If you look at the exhaust side on this without an exhaust pipe, it goes 250. So like I said, you might, oh, that exhaust pipe, I'm worried about nitrous and stuff. No, this thing moves plenty of air. And it sucks down here at the 1 and 2, which is awesome because that's where reversion happens. So I want it to suck there. At 4, it's 197. This isn't even a tulip valve. This is a nail head. But I also have the Superflow 750 that I float on. These will make you feel really good. Floating the same head, just switched it over. On the Superflow, it goes 265 at 4. I'm not advertising these, by the way. 500, it goes 299. 325 at 6. 336 at 7. 342 at 8. And then look, it doesn't back up. See what I mean, the difference between the benches? 337, 31, 34. This one, look at it. 42, 43, 46. It never drops off because this one the motors take longer to respond. And I told you it does different stuff. So if you're on a Superflow, you won't see reversion that you would see on that one. So, but anyway, 346 on the Superflow, and it flows about the same on the exhaust, 250 versus 250. 192 is a little bit lower on the exhaust side on the Superflow. But yeah, it's really good. I will not publish that one on my website. I'm gonna put this one because I don't want people buying flow numbers. So I don't like that. So yes, it looks awesome. This is more reality, just being honest with you. I'd rather have you send off with that because most places you're going to get your head flowed is going to probably read close to this or higher. Most places will read lower than this if I sent this one with it. Maybe the same, depends on if you're on a Superflow. But anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. I'm trying to think if there's something else I wanted to tell you about that. Several of you might be asking, well, what about the velocities? On the model, I floated this a ton of times. A ton. And I was flowing it at 40 inches of vacuum and it never backed up. As a matter of fact, when I was doing the R&D on this head, I would flow it at 40 inches, and even though it was converting to 28 inches, it was actually flowing higher, flowing it at 48 inches versus 40 inches versus 28, even though it was converting back. So the model was perfect. Everything looked really, really great. Like I said, it's probably one of the nicest things I've ever done. And then when it went to get cut, like I said, the slots, we had to move for a standard head. We had to move it in. On this one, I just had Brodix not do my slots, so then we machined it in. So that one allowed me to put the port I actually designed in this one. This had to be altered to make it fit this. So this one, stud mount. This one you need Jessel Sportsman, not the 2050 T&D and Pro Series. So anyway, I just thought I'd tell you that. I think that about wraps it up. Anyway, if you're looking to purchase, I'm going to try to keep one set, or at least two sets, I should say, in stock at all times. Right now I have one, and it's a blim. So I'd let that go cheaper. I don't know how long I'm going to have it. And when they come, whenever I get them, they don't even have guides or nothing in them. So it takes about 2 weeks for me to get them ready to go. But anyway, I'm hoping to always keep them in stock, ready to go, so there's not a long wait time. Otherwise, because it takes, just to give you an idea, it takes about 4 months just to get a set of castings. So, and then they have to be sent off, CNC'd with my program, then I have to do my part. So the wait time is not really so much me or even the CNC guy. It's really waiting for the castings to get made so I can do my thing. So that's why I'm trying to keep 2 in stock at all time. Currently, though, there's none. Well, I've got the one blim. But anyway, it's a pair. If you're interested, let me email me. Again, not cheap, but they're more expensive heads, I'm sure. You guys take care. Remember, I'm no Superman, and I do not port cast iron heads. Take care.